Hey guys, welcome back to Walking Man Walks. I'm back with another video. Today I want to talk about 5 things that really bug me in the Philippines. So stand by. Okay guys, how's it going? I know I've been making some videos off topic from the Philippines lately, but I'm back with another Philippines video, and I'm going to talk about 5 things that bug me about the Philippines. If you like my videos, go ahead and subscribe. I want to thank everybody else who's subscribed so far. I have a membership now if you want to join. You could buy me a coffee if you want to help out the channel. That's much appreciated, but nobody's obligated to do that. The best thing you can do is just hit that subscription button, comments, really great for the algorithm. And I always answer, well, let's say I answer most of the comments unless they're just nasty. Then I just kind of ignore them. And, if they're critical of me, I will respond. But if they're just nasty about how I look or I'm stupid or something like that, I'll just ignore them. So let's get right to it. 5 things that really bug me about the Philippines. Number one, and this is probably the biggest thing for me right now, is pollution. The little town that I live in is a couple thousand people, but everybody's living really close together. And I hadn't noticed as much in the past, but when I got back this year, it was a particularly rainy season. We had those 6 typhoons right in a row in November, so everything was wet. And I don't know if that prompted people to burn more, but because the weather was like an inversion the whole time, and the clouds were close to the ground the first week or so I was back during those typhoons. I mean, none of those typhoons hit me directly. They were more down southern Luzon and Visayas down south of me. But we get the rain and the wind and all the residual stuff, just like a hurricane back in the States. If you're in the vicinity, you're going to be affected by it. So I think it was because it was a particularly wet season. Everybody was burning wood, and I mean, it was just I would go out for my walks. I walk almost every day here, 10,000 to 15,000 steps, sometimes more. That's how I started my channel, Walking Man Walks. I started out walking and making my videos walking, but now because of the noise and just even a small town like this, it's hard to find yourself, a quiet place to shoot a video outside. So I just started shooting them inside. So I go to the gym like 3 days a week here, sometimes 4. And the good gym, there's a little gym in town, but it's not really good. It's not nice. The equipment's so junky and old that there's so much time setting up for each exercise. It's just easier for me to drive to the next town from here, which is further in the province. And, it takes about 20 minutes to drive back and forth. I mean, I don't mind. I kind of like driving my motorcycle. That's another video because some crazy things happen driving a motorcycle here. Excuse me. But if I'm not wearing a mask, driving, especially on a weekday, the diesel trucks, they have the kind of diesel that just blows out the black smoke with the sulfur. And even most of the tricycles don't have the proper emissions on them. And with everybody burning everything, it's just like driving through a war zone, the smoke here. And, a lot of men here, especially, but a lot of people die in middle age, their 40s, 50s from heart conditions and stuff. And personally, I think a lot of that has to do with all the burning. Like all the poorer people here, they can't even afford, and this is an economic issue, they can't afford gas to cook their food. So they cook on wood every night, and they'll be burning wood inside their house, and just living in that smoke. And then on top of burning their garbage, they'll just throw a pile of wood in their backyard and then throw their plastic bottles and plastic bags, and they'll collect all their garbage in like a big rice bag, whatever it is, paper, plastic, and just throw it on top of the pile. Now it's illegal, but it's not enforced much. So it's an issue. I mean, it's part of the reason I installed an air conditioner in this place. I mean, to keep cool, but also to filter the air. Like when my neighbors burning their garbage, especially last year, I think they got fined for it this year, and they don't burn it as much. But 2 or 3 days ago, I woke up in the morning, opened the front door, I turn up the air conditioner, open the window, and the people right in front of me are burning their garbage, the plastic. I could smell it blowing right in my house. I saw the girl out there burning garbage, and I started filming it, and I yelled out, "That's illegal." And she actually went over and put it out, I think because they had been fined in the past. I think the fine is like 2,000 pesos, which is like $40, but it's a ton of money for a local here. But anyway, I'm probably gonna move from this area just because the smoke and the burning and the pollution is just too much for me. I'm very health conscious, and I don't like when I'm out walking having to breathe in that air or riding the motorcycle. I'm also going to get a car. I can't get a car right now. I know that was one of my plans this winter, but then my girlfriend got sick. I don't know if you saw my last video. She was in the hospital for a week, and that set us back. And plus this place where I live right now, there's no place to put the car except for out on the street, which is not really a good option here. I mean, it would be a bad investment to leave out on the street there. It would probably get stolen, or somebody would hit it, or something would probably happen. You need a place where you could protect your car from weather and, crazy drivers and everything else. And the streets are narrow. It's just not an option to store the car. But I feel like I need a car because on my motorcycle, it's just breathing in pollution. I started wearing an N95 mask, just driving my motorcycle, just to keep from breathing in all the terrible air. So pollution is a major problem here, and one of the things that really bugs me about the Philippines. Okay, number 2 along that lines is driving. Beside the pollution is just the lack of any rules and order driving here. There's no streetlights in the whole city of Loag, which is 10 kilometers away. And then my little town, no streetlights. I think there's one stop sign when I go to the gym on the way to bed. And even my girlfriend, if she goes to the gym with me and she's riding in the back, she says, "Why do you stop at the stop sign?" I say, "Because it's a stop sign." But, it's in the Filipino nature not to follow the rules on the road, basically. And tricycles are everywhere here. The tricycle drivers, they pull out on the road and then they look to see if anybody's coming. So that's an issue. And then nobody keeps their dogs in their house here. They just let them lay in the roads or in front of their house. And the other day I actually almost hit a dog because he just crossed in front of me. He didn't even look. When I was coming, he didn't even slow down when he saw me coming. Luckily I was able to slam on the brakes and nothing bad happened, but that's also an issue. And then also the cars and trucks, they'll change lanes to the right or to the left. So they'll change in the shoulder or they'll change to the left, with very rarely turning on their turn signal. The other day I was coming when my girlfriend was in the hospital. I was running back and forth. It's about, I think, 10 miles or 15 kilometers from where she was in the hospital to our house. I was getting her clothes and just coming back and forth and doing some work I had to do and stuff like that, and taking care of the cats and all that. But I was doing that every day, coming back and forth for a couple hours, coming home and then going back to the hospital while her mother was sitting with her. And I was going to pass a Jeep. They have these old World War II Jeeps that they're also stink. And just as I was going to pass him, he decided he was going to pass a tricycle in the shoulder. And the reason I want to pass Jeeps all the time is because they just billow out black smoke. So it's really hard for me to resist not going around them. They go kind of slow and billow out black smoke. So if you're behind them, you just have to breathe that in. And so I was going to pass him on the right, and he decided to pass the tricycle on the right and almost hit me, and that would have been donezo for me. Also, as far as driving goes, the motorcycle drivers are fine usually. One thing, well, that's it. So number 2 is driving. There's no rules on the roads, and everybody just kind of does what they want. Nothing is enforced. There's all kinds of checkpoints where they'll stop and pull you over and check your license and your papers and stuff. but they don't check any, for lights or anything. Oh yeah, that's another thing. When you drive at night, which I very rarely do, a lot of guys on motorcycles, they disconnect their lights, which is so idiotic to me, because I've heard they think that they save gas money by not having their lights on. I don't know how more people aren't killed on motorcycles like that, but then if you're driving with your lights on and stuff, you'll be pulling up on guys all the time that don't have any lights on. It's just idiotic. They need to enforce that and make people put their lights on. And another thing about driving is if you rent a car, a lot of the cars they put tint on the windshield. So if you rent a car, and I've rented cars like this before, and they have tint on the windshield, and then when it becomes dusk or night, you have tint on your windshield, and then there's guys driving around with no lights on their motorcycles. It's the most idiotic thing I've ever seen. Why would you fully tint your front windshield? But they do. I mean, this makes me understand why certain tints are illegal in the US. Anyway, number 2 is driving. You have to be careful driving, and it does bug me, some of the lack of laws and that kind of thing. Oh, and another thing, going back to the pollution with the straight pipes on motorcycles, which they pollute too, but they're also really loud. It's like, just like in the States with the Harley guys, it's like super cool to put straight pipes on your motorcycle. But if you're in your house trying to do something and they go by, it just blocks out all the noise if you're watching TV or on the computer or something like that. So that's really annoying as well. Also, I just registered my bike last week, and when you register your bike, it's really cheap, but the most expensive thing is the admissions. It's like 700 pesos, which is nothing. It's like $13 or something like that, $12. But they it's like the States, they plug the thing in your tailpipe and they check on the computer your emissions, yet all these bikes and cars are running around blowing out black smoke. So I asked him last year too, again, how come you scrutinize the emissions on my 2021 Honda, but there's Jeeps out there that I know aren't passing this emission test? But he just laughs, and I don't think he understood what I was asking. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so number 3 is what they call chismosa around here, which is gossip. Gossip is a major thing around here, and this bothers my girlfriend much more than me, because I don't really, when they gossip, it's in Ilocano, the local dialect of Tagalog, which I don't really understand. I'm getting to understand more of it, but she says, every time we go somewhere or do something, our female neighbors are out there just gossiping, about us and our relationship, and oh, she's just with him because he's a rich American. So if you're white and you're here, you're automatically assumed to be rich. That is another thing that annoys me. They talk about you, like you have endless amounts of money, and they treat you like that. I've talked about this before with the skin tax. Chismosa it's annoying, basically, and it annoys her more than me, so I'm kind of speaking for her. In fact, she wants to move out of this neighborhood we're in now because they talk about us so much. Everybody knows who we are because of me. I stick out like a sore thumb here, and in some ways it's flattering, but it can also be quite annoying when everybody talks about you and your relationship and basically know every move we make here. So we might move to a place that has more expats, so there's we're less singled out, or maybe like a city, which I don't want to do. But I'll make a video about that. I'm looking at some places. I also want to be closer to the beach where there's an offshore breeze, maybe less burning and stuff like that. I mean, up here in the province, the burning is just out of control. I looked at the map, maybe I'll link that up here, that shows all of the air quality for the whole country, and it's not overall bad, but I think in my area it's pretty bad. Okay, so number 4 is envy. Envy is a big deal here. I mean, if you have some money, the envy could be so bad that it could put you in danger, and it's one of the problems that you don't really see if you're just here as a tourist. But when you start staying here a while, I notice some of my neighbors, some of the younger guys, scoping me out, and I'm just a very aware person, and I could see when somebody is looking at what I have, and it could turn into a dangerous situation if they decide to try and break into my house at night or something like that. I mean, I don't want to tell too much, but I am prepared if somebody tries to break into my house at night. But I worry when I'm gone about my girlfriend. Another reason we might move. They think we have all this stuff because I'm a white guy. And it's also with the family. My girlfriend's older sister messaged her right before she went in the hospital, and she asked her for 2,500 pesos, which is like $50, which they're essentially asking me. And she doesn't tell me this right away. A lot of times, she protects me from her family trying to get money out of us by not telling me sometimes, which is good. That's what you want in a Filipina girlfriend. Then that's how you know they're not after you for your money. Her sister's husband, he's a driver and stuff, and I don't really know why they needed the 2,500 pesos. My answer to that is usually like, well, let's just send them 1,000 pesos or half of what they asked for. And I don't know why that's my instinct, but that's usually what I do with her mother too when she asks for money. But she refused to send it. She was in the hospital the next day, so we didn't have to deal with it. But I don't know why she borrowed the money or why she needed the money. They have 3 kids, but I always ask, what would they do if you didn't have an American supposed rich boyfriend? Would they still have borrowed the money, expecting that I'm a backstop for their loans? I mean, I know her husband, he drinks every day and he's a philanderer with other women, so I can't help these people out when they have plenty of money for beer and liquor, but then when they need to pay their bills, they come to me. So envy is definitely a problem. It's another thing you have to look out for. Less so, I mean, with her family, I understand and I accept it somewhat. But with the neighbors and stuff, I told a story when I first moved in here. There was an older lady in town who just came right over to the house, knocked on the door, and said to me, "Give me 1,000 pesos." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, because you're rich." And I said, "I don't even know you. You just saw me move in here and you're coming over here asking me for money." So that's something, if you're going to move to the Philippines, you better be prepared to deal with that. Number 5, this isn't a thing that I thought I would have to deal with here, and it's prevalent in the US, but it's guns. So I don't know where they're coming from, but I hear about more and more guns showing up in the Philippines. And last year, somebody was shot right in my neighborhood here. And, I can't have a gun in the Philippines. It's illegal for a foreigner to have a gun. So this could be an issue. I just had a pastor over here yesterday. Since my girlfriend was sick, her mom brought her local pastor over here. And he told me that 20 years ago, the reason he became a pastor is he had a good job. He didn't say exactly what company he worked for, but he was telling me the story of his company. He was in charge of the money and he worked till midnight every night and he locked up the money. And I guess somebody thought he had the money. He lives in the province. I don't know where the company was, but he said he had about an hour drive home on his little tricycle every night. And on his way home, somebody drove by him and shot at him with a gun. And they missed him, but he was only a few kilometers from his house at the time. And it was somebody who must have known that he dealt with large quantities of money or large quantity of money for somebody here in the province. 100,000 pesos, a couple $1,000 would be, a whirlwind for somebody here if they were able to steal it or whatever. Somebody I know here is actually got caught with a gun, and they're on probation for it now, or the Filipino equivalent to probation. But I did not realize when I first moved here that there were so many guns around, and it does worry me a little bit. If you saw my story a few weeks ago about the guy, I think his name was Eli, down in Mindanao, who had, guys come into his house in the middle of the night dressed like police with machine guns, and they kidnapped him, and he tried to run away and he got shot in the leg. he still hasn't been found, so who knows what happened to him. But, stuff like that is on my mind now. So I didn't realize, I thought guns were very rare here, but they're not as rare as I thought. So that's number 5, guns. Guys, go ahead and comment below. Filipinos, I know every time I talk about the pollution here, some of the locals will tear into me saying, oh, we're not rich like the US, but the US was very polluted back in the 70s. And there was a campaign. I don't know. I mean, some of older Americans might remember the Native American with the teardrop looking at the river or the lake. I can't remember the commercial exactly, and how much garbage was in it. I mean, that's how it is here now. The canal behind my house is just full of garbage. My neighbor, I've seen her instructing her young kids to just throw their garbage right into the canal. I mean, it costs 20 or 50 pesos every week to send your garbage off with the garbage men who come around. And that's one of the reasons, is the poverty. They don't want to spend the money, but it's very short-sighted. So you Filipinos, let me know what you think and comment below. My Filipino listeners, if you think the garbage problem is ever going to be solved here, I think it will be eventually, but it's going to take an education campaign like that, and a combination of that and enforcement. Fines seem to be the only thing to work. That seems to be working a little. They're trying to get a handle on the smoke and fire problem here, everybody burning all their garbage and everything. Okay, guys, I hope I didn't ramble on too long. Go ahead and subscribe, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching again. Peace. Have a good day.